Hello and welcome. This is the news on NTA International, reaching you live in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. And we're streaming live on Vision TV 24/7 and other social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Justin Bemuye and John Bamidele is a sign language interpreter. First, let's look at the headlines. President Bola Tinubu lays wreath in honor of fallen heroes to climax activities marking 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Hope Uzodinma takes oath of office for the second term as governor of Imo State. And United States Republican rivals make last bids to cut Trump's lead in Iowa. Nigeria has a flourishing history of military might with influence at the continental and international levels. But this beautiful story of the Nigerian military is a product of commitment by the federal government and the sacrifices of the gallant men and women in the uniform. In recognition of their efforts, 15th of January every year in Nigeria is dedicated to celebrate them. So the National Arcade in Abuja came alive with attractive sights as President Tinubu and service chiefs lay wreath to commemorate the day. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa tells us more.
It is the 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration at the National Arcade, Abuja. The arrival of the presidential motorcade signifies the commencement of the annual ritual to honor the sacrifices of 7 retired and fallen heroes who paid the supreme price for the peace and unity of Nigeria. Apart from honoring those who died during the First, Second World Wars and the Nigerian Civil War, including different peace support and internal security operations, it was an avenue to commemorate the end of Nigerian Civil War and to also reflect on Nigeria's journey as an indivisible entity. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, reviewed the parade and laid the wreath on the feet of the unknown soldier to climax the week-long event. Then signing of the anniversary diary and the release of white doves signifying peace, coexistence and prosperity of the nation. One of the take-home from today's Armed Forces Remembrance Day is the need for constant extension of hands of fellowship to the families of the fallen heroes. This will create sense of belonging and encourage troops still fighting in different internal security operations across the country. In Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Now joining us in the studio to speak on the Armed Forces Remembrance Day and the plight of military pensioners is retired Lieutenant Colonel Susan Johnson Dibal. She is the head of Veteran Service Defense Health Maintenance Limited and professional social worker. You're welcome to NTA International.
Thank you.
Now we're talking about the Armed Forces Remembrance and activities marking the 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Day have ended. Do we say beyond the annual ritual of the celebration there are improvements in the lives of retired military personnel?
Oh, thank you for that. Yes, of course. Actually, for now, veterans, even though if you have issue, it has nothing to do with your pension. Pensions are paid at the right time. We get our pensions at the right time. It's just that the fallen heroes should be put into line where their widows and orphans should also be comfortable to say it that they are being catered for very well. Not just catering for, but very well. But for veterans, we just thank God we're still alive to celebrate our fallen heroes. Those that die, not that we're better than them that we're alive, but it's just that destiny gives everybody his line, and that is the path that we just remember them today.
Now talking about the welfare of these military personnel, what can you say about their access to health facilities and other amenities available to them, after retirement?
Oh, thank you for that question. Yes, for the veteran, I keep telling them because you have to register. You have to come into the system and register. And if you register, the free and fair and this no drug syndrome is off for veterans. You register, you get it right with the HMO you have registered with. And all our veterans that have registered have good news to say that they are being taken care of.
Now, many of these military personnel have lost their lives. And as we discussed, many are still dying. What are the plans in place for them to ensure the survival of their families?
Actually, there are plans. But I keep saying it is not just the plan. We have to get data. We have to get numbers. We have to go deep to the villages to see those that have lost their husbands and have relocated to their hometowns. We need to go further and get these data. If we get those data, actually, if you are recognized and if you have chosen any HMO and you have agreed to be taken care of honestly in that aspect, the government is doing their best.
So what would be your message to Nigerians today and of course to officers out there?
Thank you. It's just that in our own country, the ability to recognize someone that has served in the military is so difficult in our own part of the world. I just want everyone to understand that people have sacrificed, and the same people that sacrifice are the veterans today. As much as we work together, think together, remember that these veterans are the heroes of yesterday. And for those that are still serving, I keep telling them, put in the best, because a soldier does not look at what he gets. A soldier look at what he can give to his society. And as much as the government is trying, we as veterans should also not just keep our talent to ourselves. We should also help in one way or the other if we are called for, just as I'm called for.
Well, retired Lieutenant Colonel Susan Johnson Dibal, I want to especially thank you for finding out time to come on the news on NTA International.
Thank you.
Oh, now moving on, President Bola Tinubu has arrived in Owerri to Hope Uzodinma has been sworn in for the second term as the governor of Imo State. President Bola Tinubu, who attended the inauguration ceremony, congratulated the governor and described him as a hard-working leader who deserved re-election.
Distinguished Senator Hope Uzodinma, do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So help me God.
Now, every year, the World Economic Forum annual meeting brings together top decision makers from government, business, and civil society to address major global issues and priorities for the year ahead. Haman Jabani in this report takes a look at the issues that will take center stage at this year's meeting.
At the 2024 meeting in Davos, Switzerland, starting from January 15 to January 19, more than 300 public figures, including 100 head of state and government, will focus on rebuilding trust and uncertainty and rapid change, achieving security and cooperation in a fractured world, creating growth and job for a new era, artificial intelligence as a driving force for the economy and society, and a long-term strategy for climate, nature, and energy. Ongoing geopolitical conflicts such as Ukraine war and Israel-Hamas tension will also be discussed. The annual meeting, which adopts a theme centered on returning the fundamental principles, emphasize open and constructive dialogue among government, business, and civil society leaders, aims to navigate the intricacy of the current environmental landscape and provide insight through advancement in society, technology, science, and industry. The International Monetary Fund's Managing Director, Kristalina Joviva, said AI will affect 60% of jobs in the advanced economies. However, the IMF report published recently notes that only half of the job impacted by AI will be negatively affected. The rest will benefit from enhanced productivity gain due to AI. Over the years, several activists have been using the meeting in Davos to push rich countries and energy companies to finance the energy transition of developing nations, often protesting and calling for a wealth tax for billionaires and debt relief for developing countries.
5 top billionaires have doubled their wealth, and almost 5 billion people, that's 60% of the population, that's become poorer. So that's what is happening, and this is a decade of division. A decade of division where Oxfam predicts that within a decade we'll actually have a trillionaire. And this is happening when almost 800 million people have not been able to have real wages keep up with inflation.
Nigeria's Vice President Kashi Shettima will join other political and business leaders across the world to discuss global socio-economic and development issues. Apart from the plenary session, Shettima is expected to launch the private sector action plan for the African Continental Free Trade Area at a special session to be co-chaired by him. He is also billed to hold high-level discussion with Managing Director of IFC, Mukhtar Diop, among others. Also on the sideline of the annual meeting, Kashi Shettima will chair a roundtable dialogue on Nigeria's economic path and also attend special session dedicated in building trust in the global energy transition program. Hamad Jabani, NTA News.
Elsewhere, voters ventured into sub-zero temperatures to kick off the U.S. Republican presidential nomination race with the Iowa caucuses. The first major test of whether front-runner Donald Trump can beat out rivals Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis.
With the commanding lead in polls, the ex-president is expected to win the Midwestern state's first in-the-nation vote handily as he bids to be the Republican standard-bearer against President Joe Biden in November. But Iowans may have to contend with the coldest conditions in the modern era of presidential election campaigns, with blizzards and a potential wind chill in some areas of minus 38 degrees Celsius or even colder. Trump and his leading rivals Haley and DeSantis were forced to cancel appearances in the home stretch of campaigning as the threat to Monday's turnout added intrigue to a campaign season that is already something of an unknown quantity. "One day from now we are going to win," Trump said at a campaign event in Indianola, just south of Capitol Des Moines, coming on the heels of him having to scrap 3 weekend rallies. Despite his apparent strength, the former president has been indicted 4 times since he was last a candidate and is preparing for the potential collapse of his business empire in his native New York as a result of a civil fraud trial.
And lorry drivers blocked the street in central Berlin to protest the cuts in public subsidies following a week of demonstrations across Germany, and brandishing suspect flag posters calling for opponents to be sent to the gallows. The presence of far-right protesters at week-long blockades by has sparked fears that extremists are seeking to exploit the protest movement.
During a rally this week by German farmers angry at cuts in subsidies, police separated several dozen far-right supporters from the main demonstration. The extremists from the Freie Sachsen group were brandishing royalist flags and mocked up pictures of German politicians dressed as prisoners during the Dresden protest. They are among radical groups that German authorities increasingly fear are seeking to co-opt the demonstrations, which began in December and have spread nationwide. The protests escalated last week when tractors blockaded roads and caused widespread disruption. Another major rally is planned for Monday in Berlin. The farmers and some of their supporters have sought to distance themselves from the far-right groups, but the extremists seem determined to latch on to the protest movement. The Free Sustained Group, which brings together monarchists, conspiracy theorists and far-right, has posted messages of support for the farmers online.
Now, after a 4-year wait, Dakar residents in Senegal will soon move around their city on board electric buses. The vehicles are part of the new Bus Rapid Transit BRT fleet inaugurated on Sunday by the President of Senegal. The 120 e-buses will be powered by solar energy. The BRT will connect 14 communes of Dakar from north to south. The large capacity buses, approximately 150 seats, are set to carry some 300,000 passengers a day. Residents are hopeful the new fleet will help with the city's congested traffic. The BRT was financed by the World Bank, the European Investment Bank, and the State of Senegal. It cost about 300 billion francs, about 500 million US dollars. Now you're watching the news on NTA International. We now take a short break. The news continues in a moment. To stay with us. Now, one of Taiwan's last diplomatic allies has cut ties with the island in favor of Beijing, just days after a new president was voted in Taipei. Nauru, a tiny Micronesian island, was just one of 12 countries that kept diplomatic ties with Taipei. But in recent years, Beijing, which insists Taiwan is part of China, has been poaching its diplomatic allies. Taiwan suggests this latest loss is related to the weekend's election results, which angered China. The election saw voters pick pro-sovereignty candidate William Lai as their next president, a man Beijing has labeled a troublemaker over remarks he made in the past supporting Taiwanese independence, which it sees as a red line. Now, a volcano has erupted near the southwestern Icelandic town of Grindavik, sending lava spilling into the town and setting multiple houses on fire. Houses have been set on fire in the Icelandic town of Grindavik after two volcanic fissures opened nearby. Defenses built after an eruption in December have partially contained the lava, but some have been breached. Iceland's President Gudni Johannesson urged people to stand together and have compassion for those who cannot be in their homes. Now, back in Nigeria, the Supreme Court sitting in Abuja has reserved its verdict on the appeal filed by Tony Cole of the All Progressives Congress APC, seeking to void the election of Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara of the People's Democratic Party PDP. Cole, as appellant in this matter, was the candidate of the APC in the last governorship election in Rivers State, in which the Independent National Electoral Commission declared and returned Fubara as the winner. The five-man panel of justices of the Apex Court, presided over by Justice Kudirat Kekere Ekun, after the adumbrations of all counsel in the matter, reserved judgment to a later date. The appellants are seeking to set aside the November 28, 2023 judgment of the Court of Appeal, which affirmed Fubara's election. The appellants are claiming that the election was marred by alleged irregularities, non-compliance with some provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, and that Fubara allegedly did not resign before the election as required by the Constitution. The presidential candidate of the new Nigeria People's Party in the 2023 general election, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, has acknowledged the role of the Supreme Court in ensuring justice and entrenching democracy in Nigeria. Kwankwaso was reacting to the reversal of the Tribunal and Court of Appeal judgments on the victory of Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf of Kano State. Correspondent Muhammad Rabiu Ali reports.
The presidential candidate Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso says The Supreme Court verdict in favor of NNPP was a testimony of a true democratic practice, congratulating the governor and people of Kano State.
We are so happy during the Supreme Court hearing and of course the judgment. They came all out together in unison to declare Abba the winner. And I believe that that has done so much good for not only the Supreme Court but for the judiciary. It has done so much good for the government and the democracy itself. And it saved so many things, because while we are working very hard to talk to our young men and women not to take law into their hands.
The NNPP national leader says he is ready to play the role of opposition to the ruling party APC, but open to alliance with any political party that suits his ideologies.
We are determined to keep on moving as a political party. But democracy is all about talking, it's all about negotiation, it's all about consensus, it's all about give and take. I can assure you that we'll continue to select the best to be our candidates, to be our appointees, to be people who would be representing us. We have made our mistakes in the past, and we are praying to Almighty Allah to stop us or to ensure that we avoid making any mistake by putting wrong people.
Caucus further advised NNPP's Governor Kabir of Kano State to focus on developmental projects and programs he initiated that will benefit his people. In Abuja, Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
Minister of Works Dave Umahi and his coordinating Minister of the Economy and Minister of Finance counterpart Wale Dun have been directed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to carry out a diligent assessment of the cause of the delay in completing the Abuja-Kaduna Kano Highway. And this follows concerns expressed by the President of the hardship that the delay in completing the project is causing to commuters. Abdullah Muhammad reports.
A brief stopover at Zuba, the modus operandi of the movement was arranged and the journey commenced. Smooth ride but short-lived. Then the slowdowns and maneuvers, avoiding bad portions of the road. It's a feel of the bitter, sweet. And when they met with the contractors, a proper explanation of the stages and willingness to deliver the project were outlined.
Find a solution for all these challenges.
But for the two ministers, what is more important revolves around steps to be taken in order to complete the project, and a deal was struck.
We agree that they are going to go back to 4 sections, and we've also agreed on some technical modification that will make the road even much more stable and stronger, and within the 7.3 carriageway.
The icing on the cake is that the resource is expected to keep men and machines at site. Coordinating Minister of the Economy, the Minister of Finance has put on the table with convincing explanation on how to keep flowing.
If you have followed recently, you will find out that government has implemented the 50% direct deduction from various federal government-owned enterprises, partially funded, self-funded, including the fully funded ones. So we expect an additional stream of revenue even beyond what was initially budgeted for this year.
Smiling faces of the future generation making ends meet from the hundreds of men hired as a result of the highway construction. The quality of work rolling faster the tires of the economy, signaling a ray of hope for a smoother drive in 24 months' time. From the Abuja-Kaduna Highway, Abdullah Muhammad, NTA News.
Now, Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu has expressed sadness over the death of Nabia Al-Qadriya in the hands of kidnappers who abducted her along with 5 of her sisters. In a statement she signed to condole with the Al-Qadriya family, the First Lady calls on Nigerians to support the family in their moment of grief and pray for the safe return of Nabia's sisters still in captivity. She also implored security agencies to intensify their efforts in addressing the pressing matter of kidnappings and insecurity in the country, pointing out that the safety and swift return of the Al-Qadriya sisters and others in captivity should be of paramount concern. The First Lady called on parents, especially mothers, to intensify prayers for their children and for peace to prevail in our beloved country. Now, before we go, a quick look at Tuesday's weather forecast in Nigeria and other parts of the world. This is where we end the news. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Justin Bemwe, and John Bamidele has been the sign language interpreter. We say bye for now.